2025 by the Missouri Black Caucus. He's a dedicated Missouri trial lawyer who has spent his career championing the rights of everyday people. He externed as a young man as a summer clerk at the Missouri Supreme Court and later served full-time as a judicial executive assistant, which is the chief of staff, to then Missouri Supreme Court Chief Justice Dwayne Benton. He went on to serve as a commissioner on the Administrative Hearing Commission, eventually leading it as managing commissioner and as presiding commissioner. He also made significant contributions to state government as the 12th director of the Missouri Department of Labor and Industrial Relations, overseeing protections for workers and ensuring safety nets for those seeking employment. A firm believer in the power of the law to uplift communities, Rod has forged an impressive litigation record. He also upholds a deep commitment to service in his community. In addition to his leadership as president of the Missouri NAACP, he has served as president of the Jefferson City NAACP and as a member of the Board of Governors for the Missouri Bar. His passion for service is extended to roles with the YMCA, Crime Stoppers, St. Mary's Hospital in Jeff, United Way, and Rotary, as well as continued support for Missouri Kids First and the Boy Scouts of America. He also serves as board chair for Missourians for the abolition of the death penalty, further exemplifying his dedication to fairness and equality under the law. And we are absolutely thrilled to have him here today. I will turn it over to him. Yeah. And then we'll let him speak first, and then I've got a nice introduction to do for Pam as well when we get to her.
Well, thank you so much. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate the opportunity to be with you all today. I apologize for the presentation of the video because I'm on my phone. For some reason, the internet cut out on my computer. And so in the midst of trying to restart that, I didn't want to be too terribly late to join you. So thank you for allowing me to do that. The NAACP is in a period of regrowth, or I'd tell you rebranding. We changed our logo a little bit, as you may notice. Used to have the scales of justice in a big circle. Now we've got NAACP all in blue, some big block letters. The same mission and objective, though. We're about justice and equality and the preservation of human rights for everyone. We recognize that Missouri has had significant shortcomings, to put it mildly, in the past. I'll cover that just a little bit, just to put where I think we are in context. But before I do any of that, if you are not a member of the NAACP, I am inviting you to join. You can join there in Columbia. You can join in wherever you live or work, you can be a member of that unit. And the easiest way to do that is to go to www.naacp.org, and off in the right-hand side in the corner, right top corner, is a button that says join. Now, many organizations are like, we need $30 a week or $30 a month. We are literally $30 a year. We only have one paid employee that we have gotten just last year. And I'll tell you why that's important and why we're currently trying to make sure that we can have the resources to move forward as an organization. So in the past, you've noticed the NAACP, especially the Missouri State Conference, has made some headlines. The most notably is in 2017, where the travel advisory was issued by the national NAACP through the efforts of the state conference to alert everyone about what's happening in Missouri, that your civil rights are likely to not be respected, that you are in danger if you're in the state, and that you should be apprised of that. So if you're a person of color, if you're a person of age, if you're a woman, if you're a person of faith, if you're disabled or perceived as disabled, if you're LGBTQIA, and we already know a person of trans, you are at risk in this state. And there's data that would support that based on educational outcomes, health disparities, and economic opportunities. Never mind the criminal justice implications. Each year, the Attorney General is supposed to issue a report that talks about the disparity in the number of people or who is pulled over and why. Last year, they refused to issue the disparity index. We're going to make that a problem for him. But in all the years, the last 20 years of that disparity index, it keeps getting worse. Elected officials like our governor, and frankly, it doesn't seem to matter who is sitting in the executive office, have done zero to address those issues. It was only through the implementation of this collection of data that we even know that the disparity exists and the extent of it. For example, in Columbia, Missouri, you're 300% more likely to get picked up or pulled over if you are a Black person. which is astounding because I know lots of families that send their kids to Columbia for educational pursuits, and it's disheartening to imagine that they could be subjected to that kind of treatment. And we also understand that the criminal justice implications are tenfold what they are in other circumstances. So if you're a Black person that gets pulled over, you stand a better chance of getting a citation, right, than our Caucasian brothers and sisters. If you have that citation and you go to court, your outcomes are statistically likely to be worse than people similarly situated with the same citation, whether that's a moving violation or a criminal conviction, or even the plea bargains are of a worse quantity if you're Black or brown. That's a huge problem. In my mind, it flakes back all the way to Dred Scott and Missouri coming in as a slave state. Of course, Dred Scott decided that Black people weren't really people at all, with no rights that had to be respected, and that became that cancer spread around the country. And that's exactly how I think that of it. That was able to be pushed back due to a constitutional amendment that is at issue now. This birthright citizenship issue, currently before the Supreme Court, holds a magnitude of ramifications. And one of those could be that we would have to have some sort of a constitutional amendment to say that people born here are actually here. Well, that'd be us. That'd be us. That's the reason that Blacks are citizens, is because there was a constitutional amendment, not because we're recognized as what we are, part of God's creation. The second part of that is that the Missouri Compromise that allowed Missouri to come in as a slave state and Maine to come in as a clean state. I think that having been the only slave state in the South who did not go through Reconstruction, Missouri is still working. And I say working lightly because it's not really some serious undertaking that's being acted upon by the government in a good way. We are still in the middle of what should be a reconstruction, but instead we are regressing backwards. If you look at the slave and mulatto laws, it took a Missouri state constitutional amendment, 1871, to get those off the books. Otherwise, those would still be there, where Black folks used to have papers. And you're like, Rod, this is ancient history. Why are we talking about all this? Because it sets the context for where we are today. You've seen the news headlines. One of those that says that we're going to put $1,000 bounty on immigrants, right? That is literally produce your papers or we're going to kick you out. We're going to put you in jail. We see that, and I just got a call yesterday from a Hispanic brother out of Kansas City who is now in El Paso, Texas, after his family was looking for him for a week. He had 2 kids and he was the primary caretaker of those kids. They did not take the kids. The kids are under 18. You understand the problem. He has had no due process, and he's about to be exported to God knows where. Just because you're Hispanic doesn't mean you should get sent back to Mexico or some other South American country. They aren't even matching people to where they came from. Never mind the issues about due process. We can also see that the suspension of habeas corpus, which has been proposed by the Trump administration, will have huge ramifications. We need these fundamental protections as citizens. Otherwise, what do we have? And I'll tell you what we have is we have the same system of justice that's applied to Blacks at a different way than it is to Caucasian folks. We will have a different standard of health care, different educational systems. And all of those are things that we as moral people, of people who believe in justice and equality, have fought against just to ensure parity. The state of Missouri is walking backwards on those, and part of that is what allowed us to move forward with the travel advisory. In 2017, disgraced Governor Greitens, while he was hiding people in his basement, was busy pushing back civil rights laws that have been expanded. Now, if somebody discriminates against you, just like if somebody ran into your car, you should be able to sue that person. It's not that way in Missouri. If you go to work and you're working next to somebody and they have something foul to say based on how God created you or the universe found you, they cannot be sued individually. Let that sink in. They can go to work. They can call you all kinds of names. They can take away your job. And the person that did it cannot individually be sued. That is an abomination. That is not the way justice works, but that is Missouri law. And so we've already started to slide backwards. Now, with yesterday, we had hundreds of people, and I was so grateful to be able to address those folks on the steps of the Capitol in regards to the repeal or pushing back on Amendment 3 and Proposition A. Amendment 3, of course, we believe that all people ought to have agency over their body. And for obvious reasons, right? As the people who were held in bondage for generations, the idea that someone would take and do what they want to with your body is something that we just can't stand. And for me, it's personally abhorrent to imagine that our senators and our House of Representatives would move forward with a way that about what they feel versus what Missourians feel. 1.6 million Missourians voted to ensure that women had the ability to control what happens with their body. That's what the people want. These representatives and senators went the other way. We told them loud and clear, this is not what we're about. This is not what we're getting ready to do. And so the NAACP is working to ensure that all people have the ability to mandate their own health care and how they see fit. You cannot be forced to carry a child that's not something that is that you believe needs to be done, right? And I'm not going to get into reasons and moral philosophy and spirituality and all that stuff, but I do believe that everybody's got the right to control themselves. In the same way, I look at the repeal of $15 an hour plus sick leave. That is terrible, terrible. Missouri has been in the crosshairs of industry since before statehood. If you look at Walter Johnson's magnificent book, The Broken Heart of America, he's a Missouri brother who lives a couple hours outside of St. Louis, or used to. That's where he grew up. Now he's a professor over there at Harvard. And so I had an opportunity to talk with him and read his book. And the book's some would tell you that industry has used the differences that people have in how the creator God made us as a way to ensure that wages are kept low. And they do that so that, the people who are paying the wages, who are making the money, don't have to pay as much, right? So they are more than willing to use color. They did it when there were Native Americans in Missouri. They ran the tar out of them. They did it with the blacks. They're doing it with anybody that they can. And so these false distinctions on humanity that are being used against us as citizens to disenfranchise us, to take away our political voice, which would be our vote, to nullify that voice, has for a long time been the game that they play. Currently, the NAACP is on its set of fifth, I think it's the fifth or sixth lawsuit that we filed. We've got two in front of the Missouri Supreme Court that are currently pending. One tried to criminally regulate the ability of folks to register voters. Now, number one, that's a First Amendment issue. It's free speech. You should be able to register voters. And they said if you registered more than 10, then you could be subjected to criminal penalties, which could also take away your ability to vote. That is absolute trash, if you'll forgive my language. There's no reason that you should ever try to disenfranchise hundreds of thousands of people by taking away their ability to even get registered to vote. And then on the backside of that is the strict photo ID. That one is one that we lost at the circuit court level. It's going back up to the Court of Appeals, to the Supreme Court in particular. And we pray that the Supreme Court does what it has done before to find that that is not in line with the Constitution and not allow that to go forward. So just to be clear, the NAACP is all about trying to legislate by proposing good policy to be used for the progress of humanity and blacks who have been at the back of the bus for far too long. When the legislation doesn't work, we litigate. And so we will take folks to court, whether that's the governor, the attorney general, I don't care who it is. As a trial lawyer, I'll sue about anybody as long as they have it coming. And I believe that if you violate someone's civil rights or you propose measures that are unconstitutional, that you must be sued. And so we frequently partner with the ACLU and other attorneys and law firms around the country, some in the state, to ensure that the individual citizens' rights are protected, whether that's voting, economic interests, and the like. And then when all else fails, there is agitation, right? And so you will see us in the street. In the years past, we've been with William Barber organization, with the Poor People's Campaign, where hundreds of clergy have come to Missouri, into Jefferson City in particular, to demand that people's humanity be recognized through the provision of public services. And those folks were arrested, frankly. And so we stood by them, often with a free attorney, to ensure that they had the ability to get out of jail and go home where they need to be, but also to have had their voice heard. And we've done, the NAACP, and through the work of associated attorneys, has done that for hundreds and hundreds of people throughout the state, and will continue to do that. We want to make sure that Missouri can be a place where all people can live. And the failures of our state to deliver the promise that if you pay your taxes and obey the laws, then you will be heard and you will be treated as a human being has got to be rectified. We are at the tip of the spear in terms of civil rights issues, and continue to be. And when I say that, I mean that a lot of the issues, some of the thoughts that are being proposed in legislation, are literally the same issues that, if they're successful here, they will be pushed out to the rest of the country. Sadly, national interests see Missouri as almost a lost cause. So I think that we on the ground who believe in humanity and the value of democracy have got to redouble our efforts. One way that we've done that is try to professionalize the organization. Now, I love volunteer organizations. I've been a part of many. I'm sure you all have too. If you're eradicating polio like Rotary does, you have a virus that you're fighting. And so you can work with scientists and doctors, and you can collect money, and you can fight the virus. Even though the virus doesn't sleep, it does not have an economic engine that self-propagates, right? It's not mailing itself to people unsuspectingly. This racist, misogynist, homophobic agenda that is currently on the ground in Missouri is powered by business. I just want to be very clear. The chambers of commerce, particularly the Missouri Chamber of Commerce, has a role in it. There are other business entities like Associated Industries of Missouri. And I know the folks that run these organizations well. It's not like they're running around proclaiming racist and misogynistic ideas, other than the fact that they're supporting racist and misogynistic policies that take away wages from honest working people, that provide lower quality of life for Missourians. And you can dissect who's going to come out worse based on how God made you, whether you're male or female, whether you're brown, and potentially there from disability as a vantage point. So we intend to fully fight those forces. In order to do that, the state conference is currently on a funding campaign to ensure that we have the resources necessary. Now, listen, we just have one employee, but I tell you what, one executive director with our volunteers can move mountains. And so until we get 2 employees, we need to keep the one. So if you haven't become a member of the NAACP, we want you. I know that your Columbia branch is a very, very strong branch. It's been there for decades, and it's done great, great things. And so that unit needs your membership. We need your membership in the state to ensure that we can continue to move forward on these issues. The last thing that I'll tell you is that even though session just ended technically yesterday with the calling of the previous question, I think a couple of times in a row, there is going to be a special session that's going to be coming out in June, according to Governor Kehoe. He is dead set on using taxpayer money to fund a stadium being built in Clay County, Missouri. Now, I like sports like everybody else likes sports, but you know what I like better? People. If we're not going to ensure that our Medicaid recipients are receiving the health care that they need, I don't know why we're spending tax money on stadiums. And I think that at some point we're going to have to make that very plain to our elected leaders. And to the extent that we have people on the local, state, and national level that don't reflect our values, we are going to continue to need to vote those people into different lines of work so that we can continue to live. And that's really what we're fighting for. So I'd be happy to take any questions, but I tell you, I've followed the Muleskinners for a while now, and I was really excited to receive the invitation. And so thank you for letting me be with you.
Do you have time for a couple of questions? I know
Oh,
you've got another appointment. We need to let you go by 12:30. Is that right?
yes, ma'am. That would be
Okay.
great. That let me attend.
Um, Alice, I see that your hand is up. Do you have a question? Make sure you unmute yourself. I'm going to look through the chat too.
Okay.
Let's see any questions in the
Herb
chat.
has his hand
Yeah.
up too.
Yeah, Herb, let's jump to you. Ask away. He's gonna get unmuted. There he goes. Oh, try again. Herb, I need you to push your unmute button again. I don't think it took. There you go.
I want to express my essentially lifelong appreciation of the NAACP. I've been an on-again, off-again member. I'd be consistent if the list of my affiliations was shorter and I could afford it. But the NAACP must be remembered as for all the leadership it has done to take away nothing from other good organizations that are involved, including its responsibility for the cases under Board of Education versus Brown, including in Prince Edward County, Virginia. Our final desegregation in Virginia through Arlington County followed the closing of public schools in Prince Edward County because they were to be forced to be integrated. And in Arlington, some of those cases were worked out in the living room of the house I grew up in. And the people who came in as students in 1959 were known to me as the children of Dorothy Ham, who got her name and her family to the enterprise. Thank you for this tradition and for keeping it up.
Truly a pleasure to meet you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes.
Catherine, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't get the Zoom hand to go
Oh, it
up.
doesn't matter. You're good.
Thank you for recognizing me. I have been reading for, I don't know, a couple of years now, daily from the Equal Justice Institute, which tells you the horrors that as I grew up in the predominant culture, I was totally kept from. And so I'm aware of what Mr. Chapples is saying. And I just advise anybody who doesn't get that daily to sign up. It's telling me how much I didn't even know I didn't know. And the other thing is I have read James. It recently won the Pulitzer Prize. And I've started rereading it just because it's a fascinating approach to history, and Mark Twain himself and the author said, adapting Twain's opinion of heaven, he'd go there for the weather and to see his friends, and the author has said, I look forward to lunch with Mark Twain. And just one more thing. I'm so glad I'm sharing. My book group is reading right now Sinclair Lewis's It Can't Happen Here. It's horrifying. I look at it and I think, did Stephen Miller read this? Because it's so much happening the same. So that's all. I just had to unburden myself and my enthusiasm for what Mr. Chappell and the NAACP has been doing all these years. And I appreciate it so much. Thank you. I'll keep quiet now.
Will you say the name of that publication one more time, and we might be able to sweet talk Dave Taylor into throwing a link in the chat? What was it?
It's the Equal Justice Institute.
Okay, I bet he's already Googling that. We had a good question here in the chat from Peter. He says, Trump has made inroads among minority voters, even though it seems his policy actions are biased towards white citizens. What are you doing in terms of educating your membership about his policies?
Hey, that's a really, really good question. I think that, in any population, you're going to have a number of folks who just don't have the correct information. And then there's going to be a smaller subset of people who don't accurately cogitate, right, based on that information that they received. We are working daily to address the issues and connect not only the policies that we see on the national scale, but the hometown implications of that. So, like, for example, what they did with abortion and minimum wage here in Missouri, that is in line with national policies in regards to labor and healthcare. And people understanding that you're not going to have access to Medicaid, or that Medicaid is going to be cut, and associating that with a vote for not just Mike Kehoe, but Trump Incorporated as well. I think that that's really important to do that. We receive hundreds of calls in a year throughout our various units. We try to address all those, but I think part of that is an educational opportunity that happens one-on-one. And we also attend panels based on voting rights, on healthcare, on education, and especially when there's a tragedy to try to further educate folks.
We've got just like a little less than a minute. Jake, you've had your hand up really patiently. Let's try to grab your question, and then I think we're going to have to let Mr. Chappell go to his next meeting.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Chappell, you mentioned earlier, like in your presentation. My bad, I was muted there. Thank you. Mr. Chappell, you mentioned earlier in your presentation some disparities in Columbia and other places around Missouri, and some statistics about criminal justice and LGBTQ minorities.
Yeah.
Would you happen to have any other resources or a source where you got that information, like the 300% number about being more likely to be pulled over if you're Black?
Absolutely. So if you go to the Attorney General's website, there is a disparity index that he has produced in years past. He refused to do it, even though it's required by state statute. We're going to challenge him on that. Last year, it's issued every year in June. And so that's where we got those numbers from. We work with a statistician to evaluate some other implications aside from the index that he gave. But you can look on the index and see that Columbia is much worse than many other areas. Yeah.
Okay. And do you think there's any reason as to why Columbia is worse? Any hypothesis for that? Or is it just come down to the statistics?
Yeah. I think that you've got a police force in Columbia that sees Black people and pulls them over. I think it's just that simple. If you ask the cops, and I've got a lot of friends who are in law enforcement all throughout the state and on the federal level as well, and they'll try to give you explanations like, well, it's really hard to tell who's who at dark. Or if we're policing in that part of town, then yeah, the people we pull over are going to be more predominantly Black. But the idea that one particular sector of individuals, no matter their skin color, could be responsible for a greater proportionality of crimes is actually been disproven. So the truth is that for every stop that you have of a Black person, there is a white person who has that when they are pulled over are found to be in violation at a higher percentage, even though the outcomes of those stops don't reflect the magnitude that they do for the Blacks. So, for example, you've got Black people being pulled over, and what happens to them during the context of that stop, where they get a citation, or if there's a criminal proceeding that follows, is disproportionate in a negative way and affecting Black folks worse than that same stop on white folks who would, on greater occasions, just simply be let go.
Yeah, that was a great explanation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And we want to respect your time, but honestly, really, thank you for taking the time to come visit with Muleskinners.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. Please have me back anytime.
Absolutely.
You are in good hands with the Columbia NAACP. I see my sister president over there. I led the Jeff City unit for a long time. We work closely then and now. Pam Hardin is our vice president of the state conference, as well as the president of the Columbia unit. So, Pam, to you and your mom, I hope that you guys are doing well. Y'all have a great day.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you so very much.
So now we're going to go from the statewide and move to some more local leadership, and maybe hear some more about the Sunday event. Pamela Hardin was born and raised in Columbia, Missouri. She attended Stevens College, where she majored in fashion design and merchandising and minored in business. And then she attended Central Missouri State University and majored in business administration. She's also a graduate of International Barber and Style College in Nashville, Tennessee, so a woman of many talents. And she's a part-time water aerobics instructor for the city of Columbia. She's been married to Minister Martin Hardin for 42 years, and they have 2 kids, Candace Hardin James and Dante Hardin, 4 grandchildren, and 6 step-grandchildren. She believes in church and community service, and she stays active helping the Columbia Unit NAACP plan successful voter registration campaigns. She served as the first vice president of the Columbia, Missouri unit since 2010, and then last November, she was elected president. She's also the first vice president, as our former guest mentioned, of the Missouri State NAACP. She received the Roy Wilkins Award for Outstanding Community Service. She's also served on the Mayor's Task Force on Community Violence in 2014, and she served on the Police Chief's Vehicle Stop Committee dealing with racial profiling of Black drivers, which is what we were just talking about with Jake's question, from 2018 to 2024. And we're just absolutely thrilled to have you here, and we're going to let you have the floor and look forward to hearing what you have to share.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me. And I apologize, I'm a little hoarse. I did teach my water aerobics class twice this morning, so my voice is a little hoarse. I hope you can hear me. I wanted to first thank you all for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself to you. I thought I would start out with just a little bit of history, because what I've come to find out is everyone does not exactly know how the NAACP was formed and founded and what it really stands for. So just a little bit of history here. The NAACP is a national organization for the advancement of colored people. A lot of people don't know what those initials stand for. So it's the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. It's an American civil rights organization. It is not a social group. A lot of people get that mixed up, but we are a civil rights organization. The organization was founded in 1909, and it was an interracial endeavor, and that was to advance the injustices from African Americans, people of color, that they believed that everybody was created equal, okay? And this group was a group of white liberals. A lot of people don't know that, who issued the call to form this group. There were 60 people. I believe her name was Mary White Ovington, was the initial person that started that. But there were 7 Black members that came in to that group, some of who you might be familiar with: W.E.B. Du Bois, Ida B. Wells, Barnett, and that's just to name a few. They signed on to that call, the NAACP, and that is how that group was formed. Now, a lot of people also don't know that in 1905, which was before that movement, W.E.B. Du Bois, he was working through what we know as the Niagara movement for civil rights. And this was a group that, along with the NAACP, they formed together, they supported each other. So they worked, both groups, to secure that all people, that their rights were guaranteed under the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the United States Constitution, which at that time promised to end slavery, provide equal protection of the law, and a right that all men had a right to vote. So this is the oldest civil rights organization and the largest. It's a Flagstaff organization, and it leads the charge to lead our people when it comes to civil rights injustices. The NAACP has been and remains a very patriotic institution, and patriotic in a sense that it demands that the country can do better, that the country must do better, and that we, the NAACP, we have decided that we are going to refuse to settle for nothing less. So right now, we are in a time of constitutional crisis. We have people losing their jobs because of the current administration. We have people not allowing due process when it comes to immigration, people being deported on very large scale. We have our voting process being tampered with state by state. We know that they are, even though they said they're not, they're dipping their hands in Social Security. We are having our freedom of speech. scratched, just snatched away from us. And we are being kind of boxed in. And when I say that, it's like we're having a lot of conflict with a lot of our allies. So we're kind of being boxed into a little box on our own. We are not allowing other countries to kind of unite with us in certain areas. And this is all because of the current administration, one person who feels above the law that's doing this. So we have a problem. And it's a big problem, but it's affecting all of us, not one particular group. What is now reaching to everyone is kind of giving us a sense to know that we are all in this together. Okay. My job as president of the NAACP here is to help to make change with the Columbia unit, to make change that are constitutional infringements that are taking place today, to ensure that we are all treated equally and with due process. And when an injustice occurs or happens, that we, the NAACP, are on the forefront of the fight. We want our lives, or we want to make sure that our lives, that we ensure that we are all, regardless of the color of our skin, regardless of our status, regardless of anything, that we have a right as a citizen right, citizen-born right, to live out the American dream free of racism. So we here in Columbia, we pride ourselves on the work that we have done. We do grassroots work here in Columbia, and we pride ourselves on this unit for the work that has done under our previous President Mary Ratliff Emeritus. She's led this unit, not alone though. It has been a consolidated unit. We are all on one accord. We work together. We have unity, and we all believe that we, the people, all together, that we have a right, and not only believe that we have a right, but we willingly and publicly want to go out and take a stance behind any injustices and make sure that no one is being treated differently because of a dislike of whether it be the color of their skin or their status. We also know that even though we've changed leadership here in Columbia, the mission of the NAACP is still the same. We will still stand firm. We will still be visible. We will still be bold, and we will still be fearless as we fight to make life better for everyone. And that when we see that not happening, then that we're going to let the movement of the NAACP begin. We fight fearless when we fight. We stand strong. We believe in our rights. And we know that what we're doing is that we're on the right side of what we are fighting for. So when we step out, we are stepping out with a boldness, and we're determined to complete the mission. So a lot of the initiatives here that we're working with is we're dealing with problems with voting and how they're trying to construct the way that we do our voting. We are dealing with jobs, jobs being snatched away on a daily basis, and these individuals have to live and have to survive. And so then that starts going into housing. People have to pay their mortgages or their rent. And so we're dealing with that. Along with that comes those jobs that are taken away. We're dealing with DEI, which we've never understood why anyone would have a problem with diversity, equity, and inclusion, being diverse. Equity, having a part of this, like with your home, having something that you've instilled in that to make it your own. And inclusion, we're all in this together, living in the same place, wanting the same thing. Birthright citizenship, which is a really big topic right now. It's unbelievable that anyone would challenge the Constitution on if you were born here, whether or not you were American. We will be ready to fight that battle. Immigration, people are just being snatched up. They're scared to go to work. They're scared to go to school. Could you imagine having a child that's in school and you're not knowing if they're going to snatch you up or if they're going to go in there and grab that child? And we know that when they did that before, the children were separated from their parents, and some of them still have not gotten back together with their family. So we know that that can be an issue. We will be visibly fighting these issues, dealing with all of these injustices. We do things here in Columbia. We meet, we try to be present at the school board. We try to be present when there's issues at the city. We make our thoughts known on what we believe is right and fair. And if we see that those injustices are occurring, then we're ready. A lot of times people say, well, we just see 12 people over there. Well, those are just our little committee members. I don't want to say little, but our committee members that are working together. But we are supported Columbia strong. We have members from every aspect, South Side, North Side, East Side, and West Side. So when Columbia NAACP speaks and we say we are representing Columbia, we are truly representing Columbia. We're not going anywhere. We're here to stand the stand and fight the fight. We hope that anyone that's interested will come and join the organization. As you can see, it was not started by just African Americans. It is people of color. So we can do this all together. We're hoping that you will join the organization, be a part of it, make a stance with us. Let us know if there are issues that we need to be addressing that you know of, and we will do our best to make sure that we're there on spot doing what we need to do. And we want to encourage you to be a part of, we have political forums. We love our political forums because it gives you an opportunity to ask questions. And we have some great forums. Usually we get all of the individuals running. They get an opportunity to ask questions. Sometimes when you're in a different community setting, there are different questions asked than maybe you would get on another side of town. So we get questions that maybe not have been asked at other forums. So people get very good information. And so we're proud of our candidate forums. We do a lot of voter registration. We do a lot of voter education. We know that knowing how to fill out properly your voter registration cards, how to go out and properly solicit this, you know, they've tried to tamper with that. So we educate people on how to do that. And then we educate people on how to get people to the polls, because that's very important. It's one thing to get them signed up. It's another thing to get them there. We need to make sure that we get individuals to the polls. So the NAACP makes a promise that we are going to be there for that fight and make sure that we get people where they need to be. We educate people on how they need to. We don't influence, we educate. And we believe that if we put the issues out there and let the individuals speak for themselves, that we are intelligent enough to make sound decisions and vote what's going to be in the best interest of our community. We are so proud that Columbia is a little blue dot in a red state. And the NAACP hopes and feel that we have played a role in helping that to be a possibility. With that being said, we have some events coming up. We're proud of these events. We do have our annual Freedom Fund banquet that's coming up this Sunday. We are ecstatic because we have our national chair of the board, Leon Russell, who is going to be our guest speaker. We had him last year, but because of flight problems, he was not able to be here, but he will be here this year. And so we're excited to have him here in Columbia. And we invite each and every one of you that would like to come to please get in contact with us. Let us know. We still have some tickets available. We would love to have you come. It's a black tie affair, begins at 4 o'clock reception and 5 o'clock dinner. And so the theme for that is going back is not an option. And so that's what the NAACP is saying. We are not going back. We are moving forward. We also have a Juneteenth program scheduled. We are, because we are the Flagstaff organization, we have the kickoff program for Juneteenth, and that will be on June 7th. And it will be at 4:00 p.m. held at Second Missionary Baptist Church on 4th and Broadway. We're excited about that program. We had that last year. We're having it again this year. It is a musical under the direction of our own Alex Plummer, who is our musician for the NAACP as well as on our board. And so we're excited about that program, that kickoff for Juneteenth. Once again, that's June 7th at 4 p.m. at Second Baptist Church. We are also, anytime we have an issue or a problem, we will do as we have done in the last couple of months with our rallies. We have participated in rallies. We have participated in the school rallies for the teachers. And we have put on a couple of rallies, hands-off rallies, 2 of them in the last 2 months. And we will continue to be vigilant in doing that. We will continue with our political forums. We will continue to fight for women's rights. They are trying to turn women around backwards and keep them in the kitchen and out of jobs and out of sight. And we are determined that we will fight for that. We will also fight for our educational rights. We know that they are trying to ban books. I heard a young lady say earlier that was talking about the library and books and things like that. They're trying to ban these books because of the same thing that you said, the knowledge that are in these books, the history that's in these books. One of the excuses is that they don't want kids that are not of color to feel bad about what has happened in the past. Well, we look at it like, if you know what happened in the past and it's bad enough to make you feel bad, it will not be repeated. And so what we're saying is that these books need to remain in our schools so that our young people know what their true history is, and that they will not repeat what has been done, but look to say, this is not something that I'm proud of or that I want to be a part of. Let's make a difference. So we know that those books are very important. And so we are going to fight to make sure that we can maintain our educational books the way that they need to be maintained, and that history is not distorted, but is told factual, so that we don't go back living in the past, but that we move this country forward. We know that right now we are in a place where one person feels that they have a right to control this whole nation. We are an organization of we the people. We truly, truly believe that we all have a right to the American dream, that we all have a right to freedom, freedom of speech, freedom to vote, and freedom to live in this country and not feel that we have to be talked down to or mistreated. So here at the NAACP here in Columbia, we're going to continue to fight that fight. We're going to continue to be vigilant. We're going to continue to be in the forefront. And we just hope that each and every one of you will want to be on that banner with us. Thank you.
All right, let's check for questions. You may have already addressed this. I got interrupted by an employee, but Pam asked for us to, if you could please remind us when and where your monthly meetings take place.
Yes, it's always we're doing it on Zoom right now, and it is the 4th Tuesday of every month at 7:00 p.m. And we will send to the Muleskinners. I will send that information so you can shoot that out on where that is. We would love to have you.
That sounds wonderful. We've got announcements that go out every week, so we can just put that link right in there. That would be great.
Okay.
Kathy, Mary Jo, did you have something urgent?
Yes, I wanted to ask Pam who the other officers in the local NAACP are.
Great question.
Okay, I am the newly elected president. Our first vice president, I believe he's on here today, is Reverend James Patterson.
Yes.
He is our first vice president. Our secretary is Lakaya Powell. Our treasurer is Valerie Shaw. Our assistant secretary is Scott Crystal. And we have our president emeritus Mary Ratliff, our secretary emeritus Ceola Hill. Our executive committee is Minister Martin Hardin, Natalie Hampton, Reverend Marcus Richardson, Fran Tibbs, Candace Hardin James, Travis Hardin, Reverend Heather Morgan, Martha Tomlin McCrary, Sheila Kostler, Alvin Plummer, Sheila Plummer, Lorenzo Powell, and Sue Cross. And that is our executive committee. We have a wonderful, wonderful working committee.
Yeah, I was going to say, what a great list of leaders and a lot of names that we recognize.
Yes.
For everybody on Zoom, you can see if you're watching the chat, and if you don't know how to open it, if you go to the bottom, there's two little bubbles that say chat, and if you touch that, it'll open up a running chat along the side. If you don't have that open, you might take a glance at it, because Dave Taylor's thrown in a bunch of great links, one right to the NAACP website, one that goes directly to how to become a member. And then I'm scanning through looking for questions. Kathy had posted this question. Did the Columbia NAACP organize the recent response of many people speaking out at City Council about the proposed elimination of DEI from the vision statement and strategic plan? She's just wondering if you all had a hand in that.
Yes, we sent our president emeritus, and she spoke on that issue there that night.
And then Alice had this question earlier. We didn't get to ask. She'd asked it of Mr. Chappell, and we just ran out of time. Alice wonders, can the NAACP participate in nonpartisan elections, ones that are like city council or school board, where it's not Democrat or Republican? And she's asking because she says a Black entrepreneur has just announced running for city council in the 2nd ward named Nella Williams. So I'm assuming Alice is wondering if the NAACP is allowed to support her candidacy, or do you all have to stay neutral?
Okay, the NAACP is nonpartisan, so we cannot endorse a candidate running for office
in any audit, even in nonpartisan elections. You just never do it. Is that the rule?
Yes.
Yeah, it's safer to do it that way.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. I think we're caught up in the chat. Al or Mary Jo, your little yellow hand is still up. Did we take care of you, or do you have a follow-up?
We're off.
Now we can hear you. Oh, let's see. David Robinson, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I just want to explain to Pam that I'll probably be talking to you about this partisan, nonpartisan thing some, because our organization is a partisan group. We're connected to the Democratic Party, but we would like sometimes to endorse people in nonpartisan races. So your answer, while it was conveniently simple for your organization, did not help us out with our problem. But maybe we can have other conversations about how to best support the best candidates in our city.
What we do, and I don't mean to cut you off, what we do is we present the candidates, and we have our forms, and what we do, because we allow people in the audience to write questions. And so I would encourage whatever that person, that candidate was, that they have some people there that have some questions, if there are some issues that they want to present about themselves that they want to get out. And then that's how we do our supporting, by allowing individuals to hear the differences in candidates as they speak. As you know, if you go to a candidates forum, and as in our last forum, we had some a question, that very last question that came up, that asked the candidates if they supported the current administration's national's agenda. And those individuals answered, and I believe it played a big role in our mayor staying mayor.
Yes, we heard some of those things in the same view. Another interesting thing that I've always been curious about NAACP, you touched on it. I think of them as law and politics, great legal leaders. And frankly, right here in mid-Missouri, with your current president and our state rep, we have, Black lawyers of the highest quality and respect, who have an awful lot of colleagues who are helping with them. So we're lucky there. But there's also this social side, that is the understanding of how to connect to people, and the people who otherwise wouldn't get connected to. And I think there's just an awful lot to learn there from your experience, from Mary's experience, and from the community here in Columbia, and others who've worked with NAACP. Now we have the organization, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, coming to town. So it's getting it's getting crowded in a wonderful way, about people who have diverse perspectives on trying to reach some of this, really a lot of the same goals, I think.
Right. And when I say we are a very, very, very political organization, we always have been and will continue to be. But we also have that social aspect too. We, the person that is working with the Southern Christian Leadership is also on our NAACP. So we are our executive committee. We are working closely even with SCLC. We do partner with other organizations. Some of those organizations are free to endorse. Some of them are not. That does not permit us from working with those organizations. It's just that we cannot endorse. And so we do have our social side where we love to partner. That is one of the things that we love to do, is we love to partner. We just have to make sure that whomever we are partnering with is not against the principles of what the NAACP stands for.
I think I will, we could go on and on, but the time is up. But I think we should repeat about Sunday's event, where it will be, where to get tickets, ticket price.
Okay. The event is the annual Freedom Fund Banquet. It will be held at the Courtyard Marriott here in Columbia. Tickets, VIP, $60. General admission, $40. You can purchase those tickets through myself, through President Emeritus Mary Ratliff, Valerie Shaw, Martha McQuarrie, Reverend James Patterson. If you want to contact any of those individuals, I will try to leave that information as well, when you can put your name, you can leave your name. If you give us your name, contact us, we can get your name and have it at the door. You can pick your tickets up at the door as long as we have your name. and you can pay then. So if you can shoot your name, I'll give you my email address. Is Pamela, Pamela Hard as in David, IN, Hardin, and it's the number 4 at gmail.com. Pamela Hardin, and that's Hardin, Pamela Hardin, the number 4 at gmail.com. If you will shoot me your name and request a ticket held at the door, we can do that. The banquet is, the reception is at 4 o'clock. And I urge everyone to come to the reception at 4. It gives you an opportunity to kind of mingle with our state reps, with our mayor. If our speaker is down with our speaker, it gives you an opportunity to mingle for an hour before we actually go into the banquet at 5. It is at the same location. And drinks are available, but it's at 4 o'clock at the Marriott, and then at 5 o'clock, the banquet begins. And dinner is served when the banquet begins. So it is a black tie after 5 affair. So it gives you an opportunity to dress up. We don't get many opportunities like that in Columbia, but it's a lot of fun and very informative. So we encourage you to please come and participate.
Well, I will see you there, and I see this as just your first appearance here at our meeting, and at some other meetings that we will be having from now in the future to deal with the situations that we need to deal with, and maybe to have some fun too along the way. Thank you, Pamela, and your colleagues all for coming today, and for Jake from the Missourian, who is here covering it. I failed to notice him earlier, so thank you all very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Pamela.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we should have Pam put up our announcements, and I'll ask, is there any pressing item of business